Hello and welcome to Maqam Lessons. Today we're going to do Maqam Suznak, which I just played a short improvisation in the Maqam. Before we get into the lesson, I do want to make a connection between what we're doing here and what is happening now in Palestine. As of this recording in February 2024, for the last 4 months, over 30,000 innocent Palestinians have been killed by Israeli bombs. Right now, about 1.5 million Palestinians have been corralled into the bottom of Rafah, the bottom of Gaza, where they are being bombed and attacked. And there's an expectation that they will continue to be killed or be placed across the border, so that Israel can complete an ethnic cleansing of Gaza. Music is not an abstraction. If there's one lesson that I want everyone to understand from these Maqam lessons, it is that Maqam is not just a set of rules that are determined by math, some abstraction that people discovered. Maqam is a set of vocabulary and tunings that were developed by people. Not just by individual people, they're developed by communities of people, like all culture, like all language. Culture and the language are inseparable from the people who create them. It's not just that they give an identity to those people, it's that the whole existence of a people, the whole spirit of a people is in their culture, because it's formed from the accumulation of relationships among people over thousands of years. So I want to make perfectly clear for everyone on this channel that this is about celebrating the culture of a people, of the Arab people, of the people from around the Mediterranean. And you can't separate the music from it. So if you're here to learn Maqam as an abstraction, or you're here to appropriate music while you believe that Palestinians are terrorists and should be killed, if you believe any of that, then I encourage you to just shut off this video and go away, and unsubscribe from my channel if you're subscribed. There are a lot of people who are interested in Arabic music, and many of them are Jewish. And the Jewish relationship to Arabic music is long-standing. Arabic music is the product of humans who have lived together in the Eastern Mediterranean for thousands of years, which included the ancient Egyptians, ancient Babylonians, ancient Hebrews, ancient Persians, the Greeks, the Romans, eventually the Mongols, the Turks, and the Europeans. Everyone has laid their imprint on this music. And the religions of the region, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, the Maqam is shared among all of them. So this is a shared cultural heritage that was built up over, like the language and food. But there are people in the modern age who feel that they can just take culture and oppress the people. Consider the people animals, but they like the culture, so they're going to take it. That happens here in the United States with black people who were oppressed, and white musicians profited off of their music. The same thing happens in Israel. And so I just want to make perfectly clear, even though I'm making this content free and available for everyone, I'm not here to be appropriated. I encourage you to stand up in support of the lives of the innocent Palestinian people who are being killed. I encourage you to stand up and end the occupation in any way that we can. It's a difficult task, but we must do everything that we can. We want a future where everyone can live on this earth in peace and harmony together. Music is part of that. Appreciating the value of people's cultural contributions is part of that. And I hope that you take this lesson in that spirit. We're teaching the vocabulary that was developed by human beings, the tunings developed by human beings, something that brings joy to the lives of many people over millennia. So please celebrate the music and the people together. So before we get started, we're going to sing this Maqam Suznak. We want to warm up our bodies and pay attention to them. So I want to encourage you to take a moment, close your eyes if you like, take a few deep breaths, and as you breathe, notice your breath moving in your body. Notice your legs. If you're sitting in a chair, feel the chair underneath your seat. If you're standing, notice the feeling of your weight on your heels, toes. Notice your knees, your elbows, the back of your head. Just notice whatever is going on there. And notice whatever emotions or feelings may be arising up. All of this is part of how we experience and make music. Take a moment to open your eyes. One of the first things that I like to do with folks is to, let's start by just, if you're in a comfortable space where you can do that, make crazy sounds. Shake your body around. Shake your body. Crazy sounds. Move in a crazy way. Just be crazy. Shake it out, shake it out, shake it out. Wiggle your pelvis. Shake your hips. You can't see my hips shaking, but I'm shaking them. Shake your knees. Shake your feet out. And then gradually slow down and come down to center again. Feel the weight of your body, the heaviness. And I want you to make a laugh, a fake laugh. Ha 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 ha. And as you do that, notice your diaphragm. Ha 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 ha. Notice your diaphragm moving. And this is where we start making sound. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Feel the diaphragm the whole time. And then let's move from there to notes. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Feel your diaphragm. Ha 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 ha. 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 Ha 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 ha. Constantly engaging the diaphragm. Let's make a different vowel sound. Hoo 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 hoo. Hoo 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 hoo. He 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 he. He 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 he. Good. Now we're ready to sing. So repeat after me. As with all these lessons, it's very simple. I will sing a short phrase twice. Listen the first time and sing along the second time. If you're an instrumentalist, please do this lesson first with your voice, and then the second time through, use your instrument instead of your voice to copy the phrases that I'm doing. The voice is key to helping you develop the ear sense necessary to understand Maqam, the muscle memory. So yes, that's why I ask you to use your voice first. Ya Layli, Ya Layl, Ya Layli, Ya Layl, Ya Layl, Ya Layl, Ya Layli, Ya Layli, Ya Layl, Ya Layli, Ya Layli, Ya Layl, Ya Layl, Ya Layl, Ya Layl, Ya Layl, يا ليلي يا ليل يا ليلي يا ليل 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 so we just did basically a full improvisation in Maqam Suznak using the constituent ajnas, the different parts of it. And now we're going to do a little bit of an explanation of what that is and go through all of the parts so you understand them. However, before I get into that, one more request of you, which is please support me on Patreon. I am making these lessons for free, available to anyone in the world as part of my mission to spread knowledge about this music. And I can make it free because of supporters on Patreon. And for those of you who are already supporting on Patreon, I can't tell you how grateful I am to you for the continuing support. I know I haven't made a lesson in a while, but having made already 41 or 42 lessons, I appreciate that you see the value that I'm bringing. So Patreon link is below, and I'd also love, even if you can't afford to support it, please like, subscribe, and share the videos. Thank you very much. So let's get into this maqam in terms of understanding it. The first thing to understand is vocabulary. All the melodies that I'm teaching you are part of the melodic vocabulary of the maqam. They're part of the oral memory that practitioners have, and even listeners have them in their ears. And this is basically like a language class. It's like if you're learning Spanish, you're going to learn the word uno, dos, tres. I'm teaching you the words of Arabic melody. We're learning them, and really the only way to learn them is to learn them. You can't just learn rules about them and then think that you can figure out what to do. You actually have to absorb this vocabulary. It's culture of a people, like I said. So you should start to recognize that some of these melodies we're doing, you're hearing over and over again. For example, yalin, yalin. That little melodic fragment you might hear in the context of larger sentences, like yalin, yalin. The first part of that was the same, yalin. Or I could sing, yalin, yalin. In both cases, I use that initial melody word, yalil, as the opening. So think about them as little vocabulary elements that you have to learn, but don't stress about it. Just by listening to music, by copying these phrases, you will start to learn them. And the same applies to if you're copying other improvisations and other song repertoire. We're going to see how the same vocabulary is used in songs a little bit later in this lesson. So the second thing to know is, how do we start? What is a jins? Do you hear this note as a note of resolution? Sing this note. Ha, 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 ha. And notice if I end a phrase like this, it sounds unresolved. Where does it want to resolve? So we're going to call this note 1. 1, 2, resolves down to 1. 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's the same as do, re, mi, but I prefer the numbers to make it very clear. So we have this note we call the tonic, that is the 1, the note of resolution. You notice if I end underneath it, wants to go up. So when you're listening to music, always listen for these notes of resolution. They're going to be part of your guide to maqam. And you will notice that I counted up to 5. I didn't count all the way up to 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's because the first part of the scale is what we call a jins. Jins is a word that came from the Greek word genus and refers to a kind or type of something. And this is jins rust. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you want to know more about jins rust, take the lesson that I produced. It's actually lesson number 1 on jins rust. We start in this jins. The jins has melodic vocabulary. It also has a particular mood. What mood do you feel when you're hearing this? As opposed to a mood for Jins Nahawand. That's Jins Nahawand. How does that feel? Now, listen to Rust again and think, how does it feel? Rust. So whatever your answer is, I feel like Rust is majestic and proud and Nahawand is thoughtful and melancholy. But that's just my subjective experience. The important thing is to know that there is a difference between the two and that our experience of Arabic music is conditioned by this contrast between moods, this journey. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. But, so Jins Rust has three elements. It has the mood, it has the notes that we're using. We talked about the tonic and the intervals among them. I haven't talked much about it, and I'm not going to. And we have the melodic vocabulary, which is the most important part for you to learn as a student. And we spent some time here. But then eventually I start to move. Do you notice that the tonic, the placement of resolution is different? If I play this note, where does it want to resolve? So this note is a new tonic. Where is it relative to the original tonic? That's the original tonic. So we have to count up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So on the 5, above Jins Rust, we have a new Jins. If you've taken these lessons already, you might recognize it. This is Jins Hijaz. And it stretches between 5 and 8. Let's sing with numbers. 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 7, 5, 6, 7, 7, 8, 6, 5, 7, 8, 6, 5, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6, 5, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6, 5, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Two things to notice at that ending. I changed the 6. And we resolved down to 1. So we spent some time in Jins Rust. Then we moved up to Jins Hijaz. And then we came back down to Rust. Okay? This is the simplest version of Maqam Suznak. Meaning, it's the basic relationship between Hijaz on the 5th above Rust. And this is the way that Maqam Suznak is presented in traditional theory. Now, over the course of the lesson, we're going to understand why that traditional theory is inadequate. And in fact, in our opening Taqsim, my opening Taqsim, and our opening singing, we did much more than just Jins Rust and Jins Hijaz. But we'll start there, because that's a common way of understanding it. And there's a lot of great song examples that use it. And now we're going to hear how this works in songs. Okay? So just remember 1, 5, and use your oral memory. I'm going to sing through a few songs and analyze them for you. These songs that I'm analyzing are also on a playlist on my YouTube channel called Maqam Suznak. And some of them are popular songs. You may know them already if you've listened to Arabic music. So we'll start with Malik Ya Hilwa, popular Qad from Aleppo, from Syria. Popular light song. مالك يا حلوة مالك هو الغرام غير حالك مالك يا حلوة مالك هو الغرام غير حالك فتنوا عليك عزال لما رأوك بجمالك يعني لما رأوك بجمالك. So that's the whole melody. I'll sing the next verse next, but let's analyze it. It ended on the rust, right? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It starts 3, 4, 5. Malik ya hilwa Malik. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6, 5. So it just gives you a taste of the rust at the beginning. 3, 4, 5, and immediately jumps into Hijaz. Malik ya hilwa. 6, 7. Malik. Back to rust. هو الغرام غير حالك. Rust, rust, Hijaz, Hijaz. Rust, 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 rust. Fatanu, rust. This is on the third of rust. You could say it's hinting at Sika. It doesn't really tonicize it. That is something that happens in Maqam Suznak. We'll get into that more later. It's really still, this is our tonic. Fatanu aliki ozal. Rust, rust, rust. Rust, rust, rust. So very simple. Rust, rust, Hijaz, rust. I'll sing the second verse. انت حبيبي وروح قلبي بحبك لكن شو ذنبي انت حبيبي وروح قلبي بحبك لكن شو ذنبي ما تحطي قلبك على قلبي داوي حبيبك بوصالك يعني داوي حبيبك بوصالك. So go listen to Muhammad Khairi or Sabah Fakhri singing it. It's on the playlist. Another one of my favorite examples is the Abdul Wahab song Khayi Khayi. Khayi Khayi حبيبي لقاسي يا خي يا خي قلبي قلبي خوفي عليك واعمل ايه يا خي يا خي. So rust. 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1. Starting in just rust. أمانا كنت تبلو تقوله الفرح نسيني. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Still in rust. وقول له يشاور عقله وينسى يوم ويجيني. So still 3, 4, 5. It's emphasizing this 5. Meaning it's hinting at it. We might eventually tonicize it. أمانا كنت تبلو تقول له الفرح نسيني وقول له يشاور عقله وينسى يوم ويجيني وحلفه بويلي. You hear the Hijaz? 5, 6, 8, 7. وحلفه بويلي. This whole section is in Hijaz. من نهاري وليلي. The chorus answers, and then Abdul Wahab does variations. وحلفه بويلي من نهاري وليلي. Chorus again, still Hijaz on 5. وحلفه بويلي من نهاري وليلي. And suddenly you're back to rust. 5, we were tonicizing 5. 4, yaba, yaba, yaba. Back to rust. So we started rust, went to Hijaz, and then back to rust. Go listen to Abdul Wahab singing Khayi Khayi. And the second verse uses Maqam Nehruz, which is covered in the last lesson, which is Bayati on 5 of Rust. But even Maqam Nehruz is part of Maqam Suznak, as we'll see with future examples. The last example of this simple relationship between Hijaz and Rust is one of my favorites from Kulthum's song Aruh Limin. The second verse, called Kilma. 5. كلمة ونظرة عين والاسم وياهم Rust, 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 rust جمعهم سوا قلبين Hijaz 5, 6, 4, you hear the flat 6 hinting at Hijaz جمعهم سوا قلبين والحب مناهم جمعهم سوا قلبين Hijaz والحب مناهم كلمة Rust ونظرة عين والاسم وياهم Back to Hijaz جمعهم سوا قلبين والحب مناهم جمعهم سوا قلبين والحب مناهم وبين ليالي المنى خدني الهوى وياه So you're really hearing the Hijaz is intensifying here. Even though the melody goes under the Hijaz, 5, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, you're not going down to 1. You don't feel the rust there. In a way, even though it's within the notes of Jins Rust, it's still part of Jins Hijaz because it's leading up to that Hijaz. Listen to that again. Feel that it's one Jins. جمعهم سوا قلبين والحب مناهم وبين ليالي المنى خدني الهوى وياه 3, 4, 5. It's always leading to the 5, always leading to that rust. وكان وصالك هنا وكنت بتمنى still ending on 5 Hijaz وبعد حبي شغلتي قلبي وبعد حبي شغلتي قلبي Beautiful Hijaz melody. Try to repeat after me. وبعد حبي شغلتي قلبي وبعد حبي شغلتي قلبي وقسيت عليك وكان منايا يدوم منايا مدامش ليه hinting at the rust. We're still in Hijaz 6, 5, 4, 5, 4, 3 in the rust area, but still emphasizing the Hijaz as a jins. وكان منايا يدوم هنايا مدامش ليه rust وكان Hijaz منايا يدوم هنايا مدامش ليه لواني حبك. Now what happened there? 4, 6 instead of the flat 5 of Hijaz, we got the natural 6, which is leading us back down to rust. لو أني حبك حبك واليوم في بعدك في بعدك بيفوت سنين. This is really rust again. لو أني حبك حبك من يوم ما شفتك ويفوت سنين. 5 واروح لمين واقول يمين. Now it's going to upper rust. 5, 6, 7, 8. No more Hijaz. واروح لمين واقول يمين. Upper rust. ينسف. That's Nahawand. ينسفني منك. 5, 6, 7. The flat 7 for Nahawand. ينسفني منك. ينسفني منك. So that ending goes away from Maqam Suznak. Now actually this whole song, the full song, Aruh Limin, I would say it's not in Maqam Suznak. It's in Maqam Rust. But the second verse really uses this sayr, this pathway of Maqam Suznak, heavily. But the ending lets you know, actually it's really Rust. Because we're going Aruh Limin wa'ur yamin yinsif ra upper Rust, Nahawan Rust. But those are great examples. Just the Hijaz relationship to rust on the bottom. But there's a lot more to the Sayr. And I want to analyze another song with you called Ghanni Li Shwaya that shows that there's much more going on. So I'm going to start by breaking up the parts of the song, and then we'll sing more layali and break down all the different ajnas that we go to. غني لي شوية شوية غني لي وخد عينيا. So it starts in rust, and the chorus always returns to rust. First verse. خليني أقول ألحان تتمايل لها السماين وترفرف لها الأغصان. So we got 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5. Your ear's probably already starting to expect the flat 6 bring us to Hijaz. If you know the song, or even if you've just been enjoying this lesson so far, you're going to expect it. That expectation is built from repetition. ترفلف لها الأغصان والنرجس مع الياسمين تهوين البوادي طيب. This is Hijaz. 5, 6, 7. بوادي طيب شوية 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 غني لي غني وخد عينيا. So it went up Hijaz, 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 rust, 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 rust. So that first verse and the chorus were just like the other songs we did. Very simple, rust to Hijaz on 5. Ghanni li rust, rust. Then the second verse jumps to Il-Maghna Hayat al-Ruh. This is Bayati. 5, 6, 7. You can study Jins Bayati with the Jins Bayati lesson. And it's between Bayati and Saba. Il-Maghna Hayat al-Ruh Yismahal Alil Tishfi Il-Maghna Bayati Bayati. And then we can make it Saba. Yismahal Alil Tishfi Saba Saba. So between Bayati and Saba on 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5. And then we get with Dawi Kabid Magruh Nahawand. 5, 6, 7, 7, 6, 7. With Dawi Kabid Magruh تختار الأطباء في. 5, 4 with the Khali. We have a taste of Hijaz car. That's the Hijaz with the raised note underneath the tonic. 5, 4, 5, 6, 5. You can study Jins Hijaz car. So we have this taste of Jins Hijaz car going up to Hijaz. وتخلي ظلام الليل بعيون الحبايب ضي Hijaz, Hijaz, rust, 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 rust. So you see, in just this short span of time, we're going through multiple modulations on 5. Bayati, Saba, Nahawan, and then Hijazkar, and then regular Hijaz. When you get that normal 4, you're back to regular Hijaz. So I'm just going to sing that verse again. Try to follow those changes. And again, if you don't necessarily identify each one, notice when the mood shifts. It's that mood changing that's the clue, and that's the excitement of Arabic music. So we're in Ras. المغنى حياة الروح يسمها على تشفي المغنى حياة الروح يسمها على تشفي والداوي كبد مجروح تحتار الأطباء فيه وتخلي ظلام الليل بعيون الحبايب ضي شوية شوية rust, rust, rust. So the next verse, back to regular Hijaz, but really instead of just going up the whole scale, we really focus on Hijaz. لا أغني وأقول الطير من بدر صباح الخير لا أغني 5, 6, 7, 6, 5. Sing with me 5, 6, 7, 6, 5. من بدر صباح الخير 6, 5, 4, 6, 5, 4, 7, 6, 5, 7, 6, 5. You should start to recognize this vocabulary of Jins Hijaz. يا ليلي يا ليلي من بدر صباح الخير لا أغني وقول الطير من بدر صباح الخير والجمر مع الخدير ويايا 7 reaching up يردوا علي Hijaz, Hijaz, rust, rust, rust. أحلف لك برب البيت. That verse starts to tonicize this 3. Tonicize, by the way, I mean I'm changing that note into a tonic. This was our original tonic. And we go 1, 2, 3. Suddenly this is becoming a new tonic. Listen to how the melodies resolve to it. أحلف لك برب البيت يا مصدق برب البيت أحلف لك برب البيت يا مصدق برب البيت. You notice if I end here, this note is unresolved. It resolves down there. Suddenly, so we have a new tonic. لأسحركم إذا غنيت. This is a variation of Jinsika called Mukhalif. And in the lesson on Jinsika, we also covered this Mukhalif. So if we have 3, 4, 5 is Jinsika. 3, 4, 5 is Jins Mukhalif. Let's sing a short phrase in this. Yalin, 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 yalin. So let me sing the melody of the song and listen for those changes. أحلف لك برب البيت سيكا سيكا جنسيكا أحلف لك برب البيت يا مصدق برب البيت لأسحركم إذا غنيت مخالف مخالف سيكا وأرقص بنات الحي حجاز حجاز Rust, rust, rust. So we used a bunch of ajnas already. In the second verse, we used Bayati, Saba, Nahawan, and Hijazkar, in addition to regular Hijaz. And in this verse, we used Sika and its variant Mukhalif. So, but it still feels like it is Maqam Hijaz, partly because every verse ends Yalin, Hijaz, Hijaz, Rust, Rust. So you get that Suznak feeling, and all of these places that you go to, from Hijaz on 5 to Bayati on 5 to Saba on 5, are all related. They're related by the song, they're related by our expectations. They're really simply related because they've happened over and over again together. And that's what builds this expectation. Like I said, this is all cultural knowledge. It's not that there's some law that you have to go between Hijaz and Bayati because of some quality of the notes. It's simply that people expect to go from Bayati to Hijaz because it happened in a lot of other songs. That expectation builds our ears, and then we expect it to happen, and then new people compose songs in that. So, let's do a little bit more layali just on those ajnas, and I'll identify them as we go. So we'll start with Rust. Yalin, yalin, yalini, yalini, yalin, 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 Hijaz, Hijaz, Yalini, Yalin, Yalini, Yalin, Ya, Ya, Yalini, Yalini, Yalin, 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 Bayati, Bayati, 7, 8, 7, 6, 7, 8, 7, 6, 7, 6, 5, 7, 6, 5, Rust, Yalin, Yalin, Yalini, 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 Yalin, Yalini, Yalin, Saba, 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 Hijaz, 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 Yalin, Yalin, Yalili, Yalili, Yanin, Yanin. A little bit of Hijaz car. Use that 4 got raised. Yalin, Yalin. Nikris in the same place as Rust. That happens automatically when we change the Hijaz to Hijaz car. Because we have 5, 4, 3, 4, 5, 7, 6, 5 in Hijaz car. Yalini, Yalin, Yalini, Yalin. So if we go down to the 1, we're going to get Nikris. Nikris. Yalini, Yalin. Yalini, Yalin, 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 Nahawan, Nahawan, 7, 6, 5, 7, 6, 5, 8, 7, 6, 5, 8, 7, 6, 5, 5, 6, 5, 6, See how we bring back the Hijaz just with that flat 6? Ya Layl, Ya Layl, Ya Layl, Ya Layl, Ya Layli, Ya Layli. Rust, 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 rust. Hijaz, 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 rust, Hijaz, rust. So we use some of those additional ajnas, and you can go back and listen to the opening improvisation that we did and see if you can identify them there when you do this lesson the second time. Now something else started to happen when we got into this Hijaz. I did this. Let's see where we are in the scale and identify what's happening exactly. So we have Hijaz on 5, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 is the octave. We would expect on the octave of Maqam Suznak to have rust. Right? That's what you'd expect if you're thinking intellectually. Rust! But instead we have this. This is what, Jins? 8, 9, 10. Right? 1, 2, 3. Flat 3. That would be like the minor scale. Jins Nahawand. So we have Nahawand on the octave. But you notice how quickly I connect it with Hijaz. Let's sing it. Ya Layli, Ya Layn, Ya Layli, Ya Layn, Ya Layn, Ya Layn, Ya Layn, Ya Layn, Ya Layli, Ya Layli. Nahawand Hijaz, Nahawand Hijaz, rust, rust. So that Nahawand on top is really related to the Hijaz. And so what's happening here is what started as Jins Hijaz is starting to become Maqam Hijaz. So if you go back to the lesson on Maqam Hijaz, you'll see that on the 4th of Jins Hijaz, we have both Jins Nahawand and Jins Rust. So that Jins Nahawand is the first thing that happens after Jins Hijaz, often. Right? Let's sing through so we hear how we get from Jins Hijaz to Jins Nahawand. Ya Layn, Ya Layn, Ya Layni, Ya Layni, Ya Layni, Ya Layn, Ya Layni, Ya Layn, Nahawand, Nahawand. We got there very easily, and that's a very typical way of opening Maqam Hijaz. The lesson here is that it's two things really. One is that the moment you start into a jins, if you develop it more and more and spend more time in it, you're going to start to turn that jins into a maqam by pulling in the other ajnas that are related to it, even if they're different than where that is in the original scale. So that means that in Maqam Suznak, because we have rust at the bottom and Hijaz on 5, Hijaz can become a maqam and pull in Nahawand on the octave. Same thing with the Hijaz car we got. That's really part of Maqam Hijaz in a way. It intensifies the Hijaz. Let's see how that works again. Ya Layn, Ya Layn, Ya Layni, Ya Layni. Hijaz car, Hijaz car. And we saw that in Ghani Lishwaya, after the with the weak bid Magruh, Nahawand on 5, with the Khali, that we really got back into Hijaz using the Hijaz car. With the Khali. So let's imagine we're really singing in Maqam Hijaz, and I'm going to do some more phrases in that, and then we'll return to Maqam Suznak. Ya Layn, Ya Layn, يا ليل يا ليل يا ليل ليل يا ليلي يا ليلي يا ليلي يا ليل يا ليلي يا ليل نهوان 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 rust rust يا ليلي يا ليل يا ليلي يا ليل يا ليل. So we had rust on the octave connecting to Hijaz on 5. But that rust on the octave wasn't related to the rust at the bottom. It was actually the rust that is on the 4th of Hijaz. Rust, 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 Hijaz. You see how that rust helps the resolution down to Hijaz? That's because of our expectation for Maqam Hijaz. Ya nain, ya nain, ya nain, ya nain, ya nain, rust, Nahawan Hijaz. So that's a typical pathway in Maqam Hijaz. And in fact, ya nain, 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 ya nain. This is Nikriz, which makes up the top part of Maqam Hijaz Kar. Ya nain, ya nain, ya nain, Hijaz Kar. But all I have to do, ya lain, ya lain, ya lain, ya lain, is change the 6 to a natural 6, and it reminds us, we're still in Maqam Suznak, we're still ultimately in rust. Ya lain, ya lain, ya lain, ya lain, ya lain, ya lain, ya So I'm going to sing and analyze for you another song that demonstrates this expanded palette for Maqam Suznak. So the multiple other ajnas to review. In addition to Hijaz on 5, we have Bayati on 5, Sabah on 5, Nahawand on 5. And we have the parts of the expanded Hijaz Kar, expanded Hijaz, Jins Hijaz Kar on 5, Jins Nahawand on the octave, and Rust on the octave. We also had Sika. This song doesn't use the Sika. You can see how it uses more ajnas than just the simple Rust and Hijaz, but it uses different choices than Ghanili Shwaya. There's no section in Jins Sika in this particular song. This is a muashah called Al-Adhara Al-Ma'isat, composed originally by Sayyid Darwish, but the third verse was composed by the Syrian composer Omar al-Batsh. Al-Adhara Notice already we haven't used Hijaz and we're going up to the upper octave. Listen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we got Nahawand. We didn't even start with Hijaz. But this song is labeled as Maqam Suznak. So it tells you something about how it's conceptualizing Suznak. We really used this rust even up to Nahawand on 5. 5, 6, 7, 8, 7, 6, 5. Eladhara. Nahawand. Back to 3. Al-Ma'isat. 2 1. So we went up, rust, rust, Nahawand, rust. Now we're going to get the Hijaz. La, ga, nija, 9 8 7 6. You get the flat 6 5. La, nijat, rust, Hijaz, aman. You have a little bit of that Nahawand on 8 on the octave. Nahawand. Aman, 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 li fuadi saibatu. You have that Nahawan, Nahawan. So we start 4 5 6 7 8. 4 5, Hijaz on 5, Hijaz, Nahawan, wal hasha, aman, natural 6, aman, aman, wal muhad, fil muqali, aman, ya la 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 li. So I'm going to sing the second verse that has the same melody without stopping. But remember, we start rust, Nahawand, rust. And then Hijaz, Hijaz, Nahawand, and Hijaz, Hijaz, rust, rust. Okay, so that's what's happening here. We have rust on 1, Nahawand on 5, rust on 1, Hijaz on 5, Nahawand on 8, back to rust. Second verse. Min thiyabi, الفاتنة فحريح الأراجي أمان 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 لا لعبات عابثات بالنوها والمهجي أمان يا لا 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 لي. That much was written by Sayyid Darwish. Now we get into what's called the I'm messing up my muwashah terms. Dor khana rita, the alternate melody, right? This muwashah has melody A twice, and the third line has a new melody. Starts right on the Hijaz. 8 7 6 5. Sing that with me. 8 7 6 5. And starts min thurin Nahawand Hijaz 8 10 9 8 Nahawand on the octave. Min thurin you see here the Hijaz car. 5 6 4 5 6 more Nahawand on the octave. I said octave. Bayati. Bayati, bayati. Sing that. Bayati, bayati. So let's hear the transition into the bayati. من ثغور نهوان بيات راست بياتي فقطام العسلي يا اليمن. You notice how the Hijaz comes in and gets rid of the bayati. We had فقطام العسلي بياتي 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 Aman yalalali aman 5, 6, 7, 8. Back to Hijaz. See how Bayati and Hijaz just work so well together? فقطام العسلي يا ليالي أمان 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 وقصور ناحلات. Nahawan again. تحت عقدي أمان أمان والثاملي أمان يا لا 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 لا. So there's a beautiful recording on the Maqam Suznak playlist of Muhammad Khairi singing this song. So I want to talk for a moment about the concept of mood and drama. And I've been able to teach some workshops to belly dancers and beginners in this music. And I found that the easiest way to really understand what's going on is with the perspective that each jins has its own mood, and the story of a maqam is this drama between contrasting moods. This is another reason why it's really important not to think of a maqam as just two ajnas. We saw in those last two song examples, Ghanni li Shwaya and the Muwashah al-Adhar al-Ma'isat, that there's drama created by the contrast among ajnas, especially in the upper part of the maqam. You go one place, you have some expectation, and some expectation plays against another one, and you get surprised by something else. And then eventually there's resolution and it comes down to the bottom jins. So having all these other ajnas, these different places to go to, is really part of how the aesthetics of maqam work. You're going to play with it as a composer or as an improviser. So let's do a little bit more layali, improvising over the yalil, and really pay attention to the drama of when I'm playing between one jins and another. And I might highlight it and exaggerate it. Yalini, 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 yalini. First drama, right? Change. Yalini, 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 yalini. Nahawan. You notice how something changes. Now, if I play between Nahawan and Hijaz. Yalini, 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 yalin, 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 yalin. So I went back and forth between Hijaz and Nahawan on 5, building this tension and drama, waiting for the moment when I might go, yalin, 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 yalin. Back to rust. So there's a suspension, this tension that happens, suspense When are we going to get back to rust? What's happening between these two ajnas? And then you resolve. Let's do it again. I'll play between Bayati and Hijaz. And this time I'll use the jins names so you can hear what's happening. Ya Layli, Ya Layli, Ya Layli, Ya Layli, Bayati, 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 Hijaz, 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 Bayati, 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 Hijaz, 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 rust, Hijaz, rust, rust, rust. So you see how that play between the Bayati and the Hijaz created tension that was only resolved when we got back to jins rust. So again, this is why a maqam is more than just a scale. It includes the expectation of this drama between Hijaz and Nahwan, between Hijaz and Bayati. That's not something I just made up, or I'm just going to do randomly because I know different ajnas. No, it's part of the expectation of this song, of this maqam, and we know that it's that expectation because we heard those multiple ajnas used in Ghani Li Shwaya, Il Adhar Al Ma'isat, and other songs. I'm going to play now for you an instrumental piece, Tahmil Suznak. This is one of the most popular pieces in this maqam. And we're going to see one more jins and also how this drama plays out. Starts with Hijaz. Back to rust, 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 Hijaz, rust, 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 hint of Hijaz, rust, 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 rust. We got to Sika now. 1, 2, 3. And so what happens in this piece is the instrumentalists take turns improvising over rhythm. First on this Sika, and the rest instruments answer. So if I do this, everyone answers. Sika, 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 Sika. I could do Mukhal, and everyone answers Sika. I'm playing with Maqam Huzam, right? I'm using the Hijaz in that context, resolving not to itself or to Maqam Suznak, but as part of Maqam Sika. And then the note changes. So drama is building. We're in this world of Sika, we did some variations, and then we get to the 1, 2, 3, 4. And the most popular thing to do here is this. This is Jihar Ka 4. Nikri's on 4. Jihar Ka jiharka. And then we get to the 5. So the drama is building here through a sequence of ajnas, and this like stepwise. 3, 3, 3, sika. 4, jiharka. 5, and you usually go to bayati. Bayati, bayati. Same answer. Answer. Saba, saba, saba. And then as soon as you get this note, that one note tells you Hijaz. And it ends the drama, right? We had this drama building. We're on the... And then... And then... Bayati Saba. And then you get the Hijaz and you know you're back to... etc. There's some great recordings again on the playlist. Sami Shoa has a very early recording, early 20th century. Ahmed al-Hifnawi has a beautiful recording from the mid-20th century. If you are a student of Arabic music as an instrumentalist, you need to know this piece. Some of you probably do already and understand what's going on. Let's quickly just sing through this other jins that we got, because it is one that occurs in this Maqam Suznak and in Maqam Rust, although it is a little bit rarer. Ya leen, 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 ya leen. Now, even there, you can hear that this jiharka on 4, yaleen, is unstable and tends to gravitate towards the nahawand on 5 that we already knew. Yaleen, yaleen. But sometimes we get this note. Yaleen, yaleen, yaleen. Yaleen, yaleen, yaleen. Yaleen, 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 yaleen. So, what we have done so far is we've seen the extended Maqam Suznak. There's one more thing that I want to show you about Suznak. So we talked about Suznak in this bigger context of all the ajnas that we expect we might get the opportunity to play with, to create drama with, to create a story with. Sometimes you're in a story of a different Maqam. It might be Maqam Rust, and you want to bring in the pathway of Suznak. And that is not just by using the Rust on 1 and Hijaz on 5, but also using this larger context. And sometimes that happens. So I just have a couple song examples of that so you hear. I love this example. It's called Matis'al. Matis'al ya ammi alayya. And it's from 2015 by the contemporary singers Abdul Basit Hamoudi and Hoda, and that is also on the playlist. So it's like contemporary Sha'bi pop. It's a little bit before people started talking about Mahraganat, but it's basically Mahraganat. And it uses the same pathways as Ghani Shweya, but the overall context is Rust. متسأل يا عمي عليا وانا يعني عملت حاجة ولا انت ما بتسأل شي عليا غير وانت عايز حاجة. Now on Rust طول عمرك بتاع مصلحتك. That's Hijaz. 6 و100 مرة أنا ياما نصحتك طول عمرك بتاع مصلحتك. و100 مرة أنا ياما نصحتك بفكر في غيرك حبة. I'm forgetting the words. Rust. ما تسأل يا عم عليا نهوان عليا. ما تسأل يا عم عليا نهوان. حجاز. Rust. وانا يعني عملت حاجة. So there you saw that there was a little bit of Suznak with this taste of Hijaz, but in the broader context of Maqam Rust, because it's always ending with Nahawan Rust. The second verse, I'm going to skip the first verse, because the second verse really emphasizes that Nahawand on 5, but the next verse after that starts in the Bayati Saba area. Bayati, 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 Bayati. I can be بتحمل ظروفك وكان I'm forgetting the words. I just reviewed this last night. Silly Sammy, forgetting the words and then misplacing them. Anyway, okay, so I have forgotten the words. But you'll hear if you listen to Matissa. Saba Saba بتفكرك سليم. وتحمل ظروفك بتفكرك. And then back to Hijaz. سليم النية وترك جاي تلعب بيها. Hijaz Hijaz. Hijaz. وتمثل دور الحنية وانا اخر سذاجة. ما تسأل يا عم نهواند. ما تسأل يا عم عليا. ما تسأل يا عم عليا. عم عليا وانا يعني عملت حاجة. That's a great song example. You see that we used Bayati, Saba, Nahawand, and Hijaz on 5. The broader context was Rust, but we had enough of the Suznak pathway that it felt like we were using Suznak, especially in that second verse. Another song, Hayran Ale. Hayran Ale I've labeled as Maqam Kirdan, because it really has this pathway, and if you go to the Maqam Kirdan lesson, Ya Shadil Alhan أسمعنا رنة العيدان يا لالي. Upper Rust, and then Nahawand, and then a taste of Hijaz, and then Rust. So the chorus of Hayran Ale really illustrates this Maqam Kirdan pathway, which includes Jins Hijaz, but doesn't emphasize it. حيران لي بين القلوب. Upper Rust, Upper Rust, Rust, Upper Rust. خليتي Rust on the octave. خليتي قلبي راح يدوب. Upper Rust, Upper Rust, Rust on the octave. Upper Rust. 8 حيران لي نهواند. حيران لي حيران لي. Just a taste of Hijaz. حيران لي Hijaz Rust. 6 with the raised 6. Getting rid of the Hijaz immediately. بين القلوب حيران لي. So there's this really brief taste of Hijaz. Hayran ali that is eliminated immediately. So we wouldn't call this Maqam Suznak. This is Maqam Kirdan with a taste of Hijaz in it. Let me sing that chorus again just straight through. So you hear that the Hijaz is just part of the flavor of this Maqam. حيران لي بين القلوب خليتي قلبي راح يدوب حيران لي حيران لي بين القلوب حيران لي. But when we get to the verse, now it starts rust coming down Nahawan. Nahawan read Gafaki Nahawan rust Bimtisali Hijaz 8765. So we have Nahawan rust Hijaz. Okay, so that's fine so far. We're still in Maqam Kirdan because we started at the top of the scale, right? Read Gafaki Bimtisali Read Gafaki Bimtisali. Wishirti. Now we're really intensifying the Hijaz. Wishirti wahdi uli litar. Hijaz with 3, 4, 5, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5 in Hijaz. Wishirti wahdi uli litar. مهما تقفي ولا تواسي Hijaz 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 Hijaz. So we've now spent a long time in Hijaz. It's fair to say that the verse might be considered in Maqam Suznak, like the verse of Aruh Limin we discussed earlier. But watch how it ends. Mushtirhami wallat wasi dal albi khada. So we got rid of the Hijaz. This is upper rust. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5 دل قلبي خاضع للجمال حيران لي نهاوند حيران لي Hijaz rust بين القلوب حيران لي. So we didn't really connect the Hijaz all the way down to the rust. We used the upper rust in Nahawan, the pathway of Maqam Kirdan, to return to the rust at the bottom. But there was so much Hijaz that, it would be fair to say this is, temporarily in Maqam Suznak. We're using the Seir of Maqam Suznak, or one of the Suznak pathways emphasized within Maqam Kirdan. Final example, Asl al-Gharam. Asl al-Gharam, we discussed a little bit in the lesson on Maqam Nehruz. I am planning a full analysis of this song, but it's not ready yet. But I would call this song in Maqam Nehruz because Bayati is the most common jins on 5. Asl al-Gharam, al-Gharam, Nazra rust ya shabkati ya aini Bayati ya aini شبكاتي من العين 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 بياتي 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 والوعد كان ياما كان يجرى والله والله كان يجرى ليلي ليلي still بياتي يا ليلي يا ليلي هو ده كان لي غايب 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 بياتي بياتي راست بياتي بياتي فين. So we have Hijaz. فين يا مغايب فين. So we ended that, this is the first section of the song, with this Hijaz rust. So a bit of the Suznak pathway. And then later in the song, we get to the Ahat, the first one. يلي كويت الفؤاد الفؤاد ارحم. This is 7. So using Hijaz. 5, 6, 7, 8. That was Nahawand. 8. Nahawand, Nahawand, Hijaz rust. So that's really a very clear Maqam Suznak pathway, with the Nahawand on the octave, relating to the Hijaz, and returning to rust at the bottom. Let me just sing that again for you. Hijaz, Nahawand, 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 Hijaz rust yalli. So there is a great example within an overall context of Maqam Nehruz or Maqam Rust, where we use a significant Maqam Suznak pathway. So to summarize, we talked about 4 levels of this Maqam. Do you remember? First level is the basic relationship of Hijaz to Rust. Rust, Hijaz, Rust. We talked about the use of additional ajnas. Bayati, Saba, Saba, 5, Nahawand. Sika on 3, Sika, Hijaz, Rust. We talked about the expansion of Maqam Hijaz. So from Jins Hijaz, we had Nahawand Hijaz, Rust Hijaz, Nikriz Hijaz Kar. As though we were doing an improvisation in Maqam Hijaz in place of Jins Hijaz. 5, really dwelling on that Hijaz. And then we talked about, at the end, the Maqam Suznak, Sayr, and pathway in other Maqamat of the Rust family. So those are 4 levels to understand this Maqam. Finally, the other message that I had for you was the drama of the changing of the moods and everything that we just described as cultural knowledge, as habits that people have done. And it's up to the composer or the improviser to select from this palette. It's a wide range of choices. It's not an infinite range of choices. It is a finite range. Certain specific things are expected in this maqam, and you learned all of them today, really. So good job if you've made it this far in this lesson. You know everything that you might expect in Maqam Suznak, but that doesn't mean every song uses it. What's important is how are you creating the drama, the aesthetics, the fulfilling some expectations and not fulfilling others. As always, art works by fulfilling some expectations and then giving some surprises. If something is all expectation, no surprises, you get bored. If something is all surprises, everything new, you get confused. Or I get confused. I get bored. That's my experience of art. I think that that's true of all kinds of music and of every genre. Drama, visual arts, poetry, etc. Some balance between expectation and surprise. So what we learned today is what is the set of expectations. And then when you listen to music, and listening and repetition is key, listen for when are there surprises? When is something different? And when does you come back to what you expect? So we're going to sing our ending, wrap up just without thinking too much, just sing through the maqam again. I'm not going to plan anything specific. But I want to thank you for sticking with me, especially those of you who've been here over the last several years. I've been doing these lessons. I still have about 30 more lessons to go. So please do support me on Patreon, subscribe, and share these videos. Thank you very much for being here, and free Palestine, and free everybody. Ya Leili, ya Leili, ya Leili, ya Leili, ya Leili, ya Leili. Yalin, 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 Yalin. Yalin, 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 Yalin. Yeah. يا ليل يا ليل يا ليلي يا ليل يا ليل